Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. This week, we're going to talk about some new developments that happened over the week, and we're also going to do it live because why not? First off, we're going to talk about Zack Snyder's supposed return to WB. He kind of shook the news this last week with a report from Variety that he is apparently in talks with the team at WB to resurrect the 300 franchise. And then we're going to talk also about a couple other movie trailers like Alien Romulus, as well as the Venom 3 trailer that seems to be confusing more people than exciting anyone. So we're going to talk about this trailer. We're going to talk about 300 news, Zack Snyder, everything in between, but we're also just going to do it live with you all. So sit down, strap in, and let's go.
And here we are. And here we are. You're looking fabulous this fine day.
As always.
As always.
I just got that wonderful tenacity to just look gorgeous all the time. But no, I mean, it's we're T-minus 8 days till baby, so I am doing whatever I want right now to just not deal with work.
So do you get time off from work?
I get 12 weeks. So that's going to be lots of fun. Not sleeping and being a parent 24 hours a day and also dealing with a toddler on top of it and a teenager. So we have a 16-year-old, a 3-year-old, and now a baby. So we are going to see how this slowly unravels our entire lives from the ground up. And we're just going to have fun doing it.
My father said that when you have that the difference between 2 kids and 3 kids is like 200%. Like 2 kids is one beast, and then 3 kids, you're talking minivans, you're talking an extra meal at the Denny's. It just becomes a much bigger thing.
Yeah, it's like the moment another child enters in, everything just kind of derails in this crazy amount. But the one caveat is that since we have a 16-year-old, by the time both of these other kids are in elementary school, he'll be off on his own in college. So I think we'll have, I guess, that sort of luxury.
Sure.
If that's what you want to call it.
Well, funny that we're talking about 3s because the first story you sent me, Taylor, I feel like I listened to our podcast. I listened to you speak about it. We'll get into it, but that has more to do with Warner Brothers than anything else. But before we came on air, you had me watch the pair of trailers. Can we let's delve into the Venom franchise because I feel like you've been a very positive. I think you've enjoyed the films for what they are.
Yeah, I mean,
you understand the limitations. I feel like people are confused about this. I feel like people are confused because what is the Venom franchise? It's all over the place.
Yes. It really is. And one of the biggest things that is confusing people in the franchise is one singular shot of that trailer. In the middle ground of the trailer, there's that shot of Football is Life from Ted Lasso of him about to touch the symbiote that was left behind in Spider-Man No Way Home. And then, boop, the soldier guy comes up and picks it up. Now, this shot is confusing the hell out of the internet because one, this shot, this character all should have existed in the MCU. So people are now wondering, how is Baron Mordo now a soldier in the MCU? Or did something happen that caused this guy to get pulled over to the Venom universe?
I think neither of those things are true. I think we need to put on our Spider-Man hats for a second and remember what is true in the Spider-Man universe. And what came out in the Spider-Man universe is that there are canon events that cannot be altered, that certain things happen and they always have to happen. And there's changes in all of them, but it happens. I think the symbiote leaving at a piece of the symbiote leaving at the bar is a canon event that is true in multiple universes. And I think this guy's just a different guy in this universe.
But that's the problem, because in the MCU, this is the guy who's the bad guy from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, but how is he also picking up the symbiote when he's the bad guy in the Venomverse and now in the MCU?
Okay, great. Easy answer. This version of himself does not have access to magic. For whatever reason, when he hit that age, it like never hit there. So he went into the military because he has a certain set of skills that he does for the government.
But what I'm saying is, this scene takes place in the MCU, according to Spider-Man No Way Home. So this character...
That bar's different, Taylor. Doesn't he fall back through a portal? Wouldn't he go back to the bar on the when he's in his universe?
Venom fell through the portal, but he left that piece behind. That was the post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home. So now people are like, wait, how does this happen? Because this character, this guy, should be in the MCU with the symbiote, and now we have the villain from the Venom movie somehow crossing over to the MCU and picking up the Venom piece.
There could be that we see MCU storyline and this Venom some point crosses over there. Like he goes back to that area.
Maybe. There's so many questions about how this is going to work that people are now just like racking their brain over it. And there's fully possibility of the fact that when the Venom symbiote got pulled over with Eddie back to his universe, the moment the bartender touched the symbiote, it pulled him over too. So that's the more likely approach.
Okay.
But
is there any chance that Madam Web, like people don't like these movies, but like they still exist within the universe? Is Madam Web going to be involved in any of this shenanigans?
Probably not in this film.
Okay.
But the reality is that these movies have always been kind of parallel to their own canon. And at one point, the Venomverse, the Morbiusverse, all the universes were all meant to be in one cohesive universe that was tied to Andrew Garfield. When Andrew Garfield, a rumor has it, he declined to return. So now Sony has been kind of scrambling on how to make this universe stand alone because it's not technically tied to the MCU verse. So that's why you had the Madam Web sequence where she was 2003 and Peter was just being born. And then you had all these rumors online that the Venom 3 plot was going to involve Eddie Brock meeting a 7-year-old Peter Parker and protecting him and all this stuff. But even the trailer doesn't really imply that those leaks are accurate. So we'll see how that goes.
The first movie was a buddy cop movie. They're like bad boys. This movie to me looks like The Hangover in that we're going to see them on a road trip and we're going to see we're going to see funny shenanigans, and then they're going to go to Vegas. They're going to say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They'll do some sort of fight scene or something there. Now, why didn't they put the symbiote on more animals? Because symbiote horse was looking pretty funny.
Yeah. So the best thing of that trailer was the symbiote horse. And a lot of people kind of collectively said, holy crap, this is awesome. And even my buddy Ryan Unicombe, who's been very notoriously, he hates the first two movies. He says Tom Hardy is the only redeeming quality, and even that's a stretch. He hates these movies. He saw that trailer, saw that Venom horse, and said, oh, I'm seeing this movie now because of that damn horse. And that's kind of how a lot of people felt, was like, this is so ridiculous that it's like he jumped the shark and became like something you have to see it happen. So it looks like it could be a lot of fun. As always with the MCU, the Sony Spider-Man universe, we have more questions than answers. People questioned how the Morbius stuff took place with the Vulture jumping, and they questioned all this stuff. And then they saw Across the Spider-Verse, they saw direct answers to how this all ties together. So it definitely feels like Sony Marvel is still doing their thing where they're not answering enough questions, but if you're paying attention and you see everything, you'll get those answers over time.
Well, okay, but we're talking two different Spider-Man. They're building the Sinister Six, right? That's what the Morbius ending was. Okay. But who's the Spider-Man? And you basically need to have half a movie where they introduce Spider-Man in the second half of the movie to build up to the craziness that's going to be the Sinister Six.
They have to do something like that. And I think that was why they originally wanted to bring Andrew Garfield back, because he never got his third film. And the plan was always to make Garfield versus Sinister Six. Garfield allegedly declined to come back to kind of spearhead this whole new universe. And we'll see what happens. But Tom Hardy said very interestingly in an interview the last couple of days that this universe is 100% not tied to Tom Holland. And this universe does have its own Spider-Man. So now people are questioning what is going on.
Well, okay. Did the MCU beat Sony then to the Sinister Six idea? Because that's kind of what happens in No Way Home.
You mean the Sinister Five?
Yeah, but I mean, technically the Green Goblin has two personalities, so I guess that's the extra member.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those, like, we got to just wait and see what they do with it, because there's so many questions. There's so many things that don't make sense, and there's so many questions about what is going on in this sequence. But I think that's going to probably be one of the hooks. I mean, because Sony, to give them their credit, they do cause a lot of buzz with their trailers by throwing stuff like this in there that have caused people to basically free market the movie. Like in the Morbius movie, when the trailer came out and you had that shot of him walking down the alley and there's that picture of Spider-Man saying murder on it. That scene was not even in the movie, but it got enough people saying, what the hell is going on, for them to go see it.
Okay. So then the third option is none of this stuff makes the movie.
Yes. Third option is this is straight up a bait and switch, and it's not even relevant.
Taylor, when I saw that trailer and I saw the Venom symbiotes attacking the airplane, I thought to myself that now we get to see Venom be a good guy in, like, he's going to make axe hands. He's going to do crazy stuff to these monsters, and he'll save people by accident, right? Like, he'll fight a monster and it saves the day.
I think what makes this trailer so interesting to me is because you had the first movie, right, where you had the handful of symbiotes found, and they were kind of just doing their thing. Venom's the last survivor because all the others died and everything. Number 2 happened where you have his offspring becoming Carnage, and then so on. This movie kind of raised this question in the trailer where the symbiotes are now coming to get Venom, and you kind of now wonder why. Why do they even care? Why is he... In the first movie, he was kind of implied that he's a lowly, like he was a loser, right? He was not even an important symbiote, so they shouldn't be staging this intergalactic quest to go retrieve him.
Is there any chance he is a Palpatine clone?
Somehow Palpatine returned.
He is a Palpatine clone, so they can bring back Emperor Palpatine.
So there's a lot of implications there on what this is. And then at the same time, at the end of number 2, when they made that reference to you haven't even seen the grasp of my full powers, how Venom can kind of interact with the multiverse on his own. It's going to be interesting to see what they kind of play into this, because it sounds like this movie could very well end with them saying we as symbiotes exist separate to the multiverse, and they want me because of my constant interactions with Spider-Man throughout the multiverse. And maybe they're setting up this bigger story with why Venom is significant to the multiverse.
Could they also be setting up Military Man Venom?
Oh, like, yes, 100%.
That Eddie, like at the end of the movie, Eddie Brock in the third act, Eddie Brock really sacrifices himself to save the day, and the symbiote's like, I love you, you're my man, but I got to go find somebody else. And then we see M16 wielding Venom, who looks like Captain America, but like
Venom.
I mean, all that, all that in a bag of chips.
I think that this movie, if they're touting it to be the final Venom movie, they're going to be doing something pretty hardcore at the ending. Otherwise, they're not going to be even living up to the fact that these movies are actually their biggest non-Spider-Man Spider-Man movies. Like the Venom movies have actually made a lot of money. So
they're just losing Tom Hardy, though, right? Like that's why this version of it, because he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Possibly. We don't know if he actually is done. I mean, we just know that this is the end of the trilogy. So it could very much be like Captain America 3, where Captain America is over making solo films, but he's still coming out for the Avengers and shit. So this very much could just be like the end of his story arc to become like the true Venom and then we jump into whatever they do next with Eddie Brock and so on.
See, I feel like the MCU was what was. Let me rephrase that. I feel like working with Disney was part of the appeal for him even taking Venom on at all. Like maybe you get there. I mean, that's what Sydney Sweeney said. She was like, I thought I was in a Marvel movie, and it was like, no, you're not. You're
Marvel adjacent.
Yeah, sorry, you are the Shasta-Cola of Marvel movies.
And they've also, other rumors have come around that apparently Sydney Sweeney is up for another role in the Marvel Universe. And
she's going to take it, and it's going to be confusing.
Yeah, but it sounds like it may actually be Black Cat for the next Spider-Man film. Which sounds fine to me. So
I hate how well she's going to look comic book accurate.
Yeah.
And that's not a feat that most humans can do. She will actually look like the way that they draw that sexy character.
So I think, whatever they do, maybe Sony was just like, hey, our bad. We get and switched you. How about we put you in the actual MCU movies that we're tied to?
Well, that's the question. I'm going to ask you this question 5 times today.
Okay.
So we talked about Venom 3. When does it come out? And will people even go see it?
Yes, and October.
Okay. It feels like a spooky movie. There's a little shop of horrors thing going on, right? He's eating the guys. They're going on missions. They're fighting all the people that you see in Fast and Furious.
I do actually like that Venom is, Eddie Brock is kind of embraced let Venom eat cartel members because he has to eat and I can't stop him. So let me just aim him at the drug lords. Like, I actually was like, okay, I could see that being the compromise that he was doing, more so than the last movie where his compromise was eating chickens.
Well, if they can lean into the horror factor, which brings me to the second trailer you had me watch today, Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus, yes.
It's so... Okay. So they gave it to that guy who did Evil Dead, and that Evil Dead movie was way better than people thought it was going to be. It was like a great thinking about the powers. Taylor, it's great to see a movie utilizing all of the horrors of the not the symbiote, the xenomorph.
Yes.
That we're seeing water stuff. This movie looks like a horror movie, like a slasher movie. I think this movie's going to do gangbusters.
I think this movie's going to be extremely gory, and people are probably going to do the same thing that they did with Evil Dead, and people might get queasy and walk out just because of how graphic it might be. Because there was that one shot where the girl is shooting up into the rafters at the alien, and you know that every bullet she hits, she's going to be dripped on with acid, so she's going to melt.
When they showed the thing go on his mouth, and then they showed it go and then out and then in again, I'm like, they're gonna show the grossest stuff in this movie.
Yeah, and then the I want to show you my chest cavity, and you're like, oh, you're gonna see this thing pop out of this guy's chest in graphic detail.
It's so funny that now that listen, I like the high concept science fiction that Ridley Scott was trying to do with the Xenomorph universe. But this movie is going to be very appealing to a pretty big audience. Like,
what this instantly reminds me of is kind of what we talked about, that one with Ian Corlett, with how he said he didn't like Aliens as much as Alien because Aliens tried too much to be almost a stereotypical action movie with too much explanation behind the world. And then Alien was like, we don't know shit and we're being hunted. This movie feels like that, where we don't know shit, but we're being hunted by these things. And I feel like the less is more with the Alien universe. The more you don't answer, the more you get people talking about it.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of visuals from that video game that did very well in the space technology. I'm like literally seeing stuff from there, which I wonder if the director played those things and experienced that and is like, oh, okay, I want to put these things in there.
Oh, I'm sure
but like also I think that people forget like the bad guy of the alien universe is humanity. That humans, they are the bad guys. And here we have people being repressed by corporations, because corporations are the bad guys in the alien movies, if you didn't know.
Yeah. Also, I don't think enough people realize that the Weyland Corp from the Alien movies is also has direct ties to the Blade Runner universe, and they're technically canon to each other.
Silly. No idea.
So
Had no
again,
idea.
corporations are bad. So
Okay, so the first movie, horror movie.
Yeah.
Second movie, action
sci-fi
movie.
action movie.
Third movie,
Kind of horror again, because they're in a prison and they're being hunted. But
fourth movie's an action movie.
and it was written well, but not executed well. I think that's always my thoughts on the fourth movie.
I watched it. I think I've seen it 25 times. It was the new Alien movie. I feel like I watched it a lot.
I think we watched it a lot as kids, and every time I'm like, this movie's weird, but it's got a good plot, but I don't think this is working.
Okay, what's Alien 5?
Prometheus?
Oh, we're not going to count AVP?
No, I mean, well, AVP 1 and 2 are good in their own rights, but they're also very much not canon to the main canon.
Okay.
So there's that.
2, the one in the town?
Aliens?
No.
Oh, no. Yes. Alien versus Predator Requiem was the one in the town where the xenomorph started putting babies into the thing. That one, the rated R version is absolutely insane, but it's you got to watch the rated R one, and it's also like
okay,
like it does too much, and you're like, okay, I feel dirty now.
Then we get to Prometheus.
Then we get to Prometheus, and that was Ridley Scott's kind of do-over.
Yeah.
And then that one I love Prometheus a lot. That one is good for its own highbrow sci-fi stuff. And then you have Alien Isolation. Is that that's the game. Covenant. Yes, that was the sequel to Alien. That was the sequel to Prometheus, but all the interesting stuff happened off screen.
Yeah, listen, all the scenes with Michael Fassbender are great. All the other stuff is forgettable. And the fact that he didn't do the movie where she goes to that planet. The movie we want to see is the follow-up to Prometheus, and we haven't got it. Yeah. And while I'm very happy with what Alien Romulus is promising, and it's going to be a fun story, it unfortunately will not give us any answers to the Prometheus problem.
Yeah, it definitely won't. But such is life. I mean, that's kind of how we are with these movies.
It looks scary. It looks like gory stuff's going to happen. There's going to be acid on things and people burning in acid, and that guy's eyes were turning white. I don't think anybody gets out of there.
That he's the robot. I was like, okay, he's the robot.
He's the new robot. Oh yeah, there's robots in all of these movies, and it's always a big surprise when the robots show up.
Except for in Aliens, where they told you Bilbo Baggins was the robot right from the beginning, and they by the way. He's the robot. And he could do this crazy thing with the knives.
Why'd you call it Bilbo Baggins?
Wasn't that the actor who played Bilbo Baggins? Or was that in the first one?
That's in the first movie.
Okay, yeah. The robot in the first movie was Bilbo
In the
Baggins. Second
movie, he's just the skinny bone guy.
Is he really?
Yeah, he does the knife, and then they bring him back, and then he plays the founder, Waylon, in AVP. He's that guy.
Oh, he was, wasn't he? Yeah, that was the Waylon. And then he was retconned to Waylon being
Guy
what's
Pearce.
His face? The guy from
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce, yeah. I think you said it, and I just ignored you. But anyways, Alien Romulus looks like it could be a ton of fun, and I'm also looking forward to the next Predator movies, just because I love Prey a lot, and I like the idea of a sequel to Prey.
They got it. Yeah, I was about to say the Predator movies also wildly go back and forth between horror survival into action movie into survival. What are the different
survival again with a little bit of action somewhere in there?
Yeah.
The funny thing was a lot of people are pointing out that the new Alien movie, the new Alien show, the new Predator movie, and the new Predator, everything, all of these movies are all female main characters. And people are like, has this always been the franchise, or is this just what we're getting into now?
Well,
yes and no.
Yes and no. Alien, listen, Sigourney Weaver is the GOAT. She was the baddest bitch in the universe. She was great in all those movies. Thank you. It's always kind of been female driven in that regard.
And then in the Predator franchise, they established that the Predators won't kill women and children, so the women are the only ones who can survive. So you have a strong woman character. She won't get murdered unless she's a threat.
Well, I think because Prey did so well, they're gonna stick really close to it. So, what is another historical event or time period
Well,
that
I mean,
would
they
be
already said that
interesting?
the sequel to Prey is going to be with Amber Midthunder or something like that. I can't remember her last name. But they're going to continue her story. And then another one that they're doing is the Badlands, Predator Badlands. And it's like set in the future. And Ellie Fanning apparently is like being courted to be the main character, which is like the total opposite of what the Native American stuff is. So we have a Native American hero. Then we get a skinny blonde chick. Here we go.
Will the Native American one go to theaters, or will they do another streaming only deal?
I don't know, but I think the way they did the first one kind of caught everyone off guard, and it did very well. So it's fully possible it could go to theaters.
Who has the rights?
Oh,
Fox had it. Is it with Disney now?
It's still technically Disney. Disney was using it through Hulu. So
is Disney, but will Disney make that movie? I don't feel like they're making that movie right now.
They're making it under the 20th Century Pictures banner.
Okay.
So
is that their new Touchstone Pictures?
Basically, it's like last time when Disney didn't want people to know that they were making other grown-up movies, they used Touchstone, and now everyone got wise to that reality, and then they stopped using it. So, but
I mean, the Predator franchise has always had so much. I've always there's always oh, well, the next one will be good. And I've been happy that they've had a pretty good track record with them. I liked the one that was done by El Mariachi Once Upon a Time.
Yes, actually made my wife watch that one. I legitimately love Predators. I think the idea behind that movie of the Predators just grabbing a bunch of people and tossing them in an alien jungle, fantastic. And Lawrence Fishburne as a crazy, I've survived forever and I've got a samurai sword because I found it off of a dead samurai. Great. Fantastic movie.
Listen, I really like that movie too. The only problem is why did Adrian Brody want to play that dude? There's 5 other guys that could play that dude that would look like that dude, but he was like, "Nah, I want to play that dude."
That was always, it was Adrian Brody's casting was always
because he's a big name, and I bet he did that movie for nothing because he wants to hang out with all those people because that's a really fun movie.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that. Maybe that was the reason. I don't know. But I mean, aside from that, I did not like the latest Predator movie. Not Prey.
The comedy one. The comedy one.
The comedy one where it was a bunch of vets in a bus and Keegan-Michael Key was in there too. And it started off really well. I think the first 20 to 30 minutes, fantastic start of a movie. Then it just progressively went downhill. And then the last sequence where he's like, now we have the Predator armor. I'm like, wow, dumb. I could not get into their anti-Predator, Predator Buster, mech suit. That just looks stupid as hell.
I'm pretty sure after they broke out of the lab and then they're in a van. Yeah, I don't remember finishing the movie. I remember turning it on and being like, okay, let's see what this is. And did not. That
was the one where they're the Predator was being hunted by the bigger Predator and the Predator dogs. And I'm like, this is okay. And then when they got to the end, the Predator is like, I've got a weapon for you, and gives them this super suit. And
Symbiote
we're gonna take the fight to them. And he has it was so dumb.
Symbiote horse is greater than Predator dogs.
Yeah. I mean, we had alien dogs. I mean, why do we need Predator dogs too?
They had lots of crazy aliens. They had aliens that look look at all the toys. Look at all the crazy toys in the 90s.
There's the chicken predator, the lizard predator. I'm like, yes, give me all of the weird ass animals in xenomorph style. Let's do this.
Before we move away from Alien Romulus, when is it coming out and will people see it?
I think people will see it because, from my understanding, Alien Romulus might actually have a very small budget, which is probably how they pulled it off.
I wrote that down. It's a cast of unknowns. I bet they're gonna kill it.
So look at it this way. Alien Romulus was originally scheduled to release on Hulu, but after they finished it and they showed it to the executives, they're like, "Damn, we're putting this movie in theaters," and it's now been shifted to theaters on August 16th.
Okay, it's got to compete with summer movies. That might have been a mistake. I think this should have been in October as well. But okay,
yeah, but they were able to get an entire cast of unknowns to be just murdered by aliens. So I think that was how they were able to keep the budget down. My guess is the movie is probably made under 100 million, but if it's more than that, I'll be a little surprised. But let me do some digging. Let me see.
Let's talk about budgets, because we just watched Godzilla's -1, which is now streaming on Netflix, and it was fantastic.
I loved that Netflix was like, sorry, it's only going to be international. It's only going to be international. Surprise, here it is. And then they put it out, and then I immediately watched it. And the dub is a little weird because that wasn't something that I experienced in theaters. But, you know, I was able to watch the movie just with my brain off multiple times. Like, I watched it with my sub fidelity that I wanted, and then I went to the dub just so I could like play on my phone while I was watching and tune back in when Godzilla was being Godzilla. God, it's such a good movie.
The whole family watched it. Mom, Dad, Sierra, everyone watched it.
It's kind of amazing that this movie was the #1 streaming giant. Just it completely blew up on streaming, #1 in the charts on the entire planet, and also on the digital purchasing charts. Like this movie, I think the word of mouth definitely went through this movie, and everyone, as soon as they saw it come up on digital, they either bought it or went straight to Netflix or did both.
It's the first Godzilla movie in a long time where the A story is almost better than the B. The B story being Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
Usually they make
the funny thing. No, I was trying to explain to somebody like, what's so good about this movie? I'm like, well, it's a post-World War II drama about a Japanese soldier feeling the shame of not committing suicide in the battlefield and struggling with his demons to decide if he wants to live or not, while he also took in a young orphan and trying to find his purpose in the world. And Godzilla's also there fucking shit
and Godzilla shows up at some point.
And I'm like, yeah, this movie is fantastic, and it's this really amazing period piece drama with Godzilla.
I also liked, because so often in these movies, it's like, we made a space laser and it's a really big laser and we're going to shoot. The fact that they had to fight Godzilla with 1947 technology.
Yeah. And they're like, we're going to just like try to capture it in a net, and oh no, it's not working. So we just got a suicide bomb into his mouth. That's probably not going to work either. Like the movie was just so good, so well done. And I love how the filmmaker basically said that just like Shin Godzilla, the idea that Godzilla is essentially like a Japanese deity, like you can't kill it. It's a force of nature. You either have to get out of its way. I don't know. Like they're not like the American Godzilla is like, we could stand with him and fight with him. It's like, no, Godzilla doesn't give a shit about anybody except for you're in his way.
I really like Shin Godzilla, but
Shin Godzilla is so good.
But Shin Godzilla is a movie you tell your anime friends, like, oh, you should watch it. This movie is a movie you would tell your dad to watch. You'll tell your dad, like, oh, you should actually watch the new Godzilla movie. It's worth watching.
Yeah.
I also think it's easier to get into than Shin Godzilla. I like Shin Godzilla, but I like Evangelion. I like, bureaucrats in a room talking about,
I mean, it's always really hard when Godzilla's like, there's like mouth splits open. I'm like, what is this? But it's still a really cool movie.
I mean, hopefully not too many spoilers. I love the new Godzilla. When he powers up, the prongs on his back go up.
That was such a cool design that they had. Was like, I'm like, oh, that's fun. That could be a cool toy if they ever made toys for this show. But
they're gonna make that. That's got to be a model. That's got to be an expensive toy,
and it's got to be like, as soon as you like bend it to get in the prone position to attack, all the spikes come up. I'm like, that's how you do it. Just put some gear in there.
So this movie was successful. They did the Kingdom and Godzilla G.I. Joe movie where they go on a special mission.
That was also successful. So
we will absolutely get probably something from Japan. We'll get another one of these in a couple years, whatever that looks like. But what are we getting in the West?
There's another Godzilla versus Kong movie coming, and there's also another season of Monarch. Monarch, however, I was not a huge fan of Godzilla versus Kong. I thought it was just I thought they kind of screwed it up by cutting out all the stuff that tied it to Godzilla King of the Monsters. And then they made the second one, Godzilla v Kong, let's team up with Robot Fist Kong or whatever they called it. And I didn't see it, but I heard it was fun. But I did watch the shit out of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and that show made me want to like invest further into the American Godzilla stuff because that show was so good. Apple TV, huge win. Good for you guys for making that show. That made me seriously tune in every week to see what the hell's going on with Kurt Russell.
It feels like Apple has really kind of marketed, really got the market on sci-fi. But sci-fi, the whole umbrella, from giant monsters to dystopian universes, like they really got the whole umbrella of like really great sci-fi.
Yeah. So good on them. I mean, you guys keep justifying that I keep resubscribing to your service to watch these things. So good for you guys.
Okay. So we talked about Sony. We talked about Japan, which is working with Legendary. One of the things that you had said that when Discovery bought Warner Brothers, they kind of shamed them. They go, why did you lose all of these A-list directors? And it sounds like they, on the Warner Brothers side, want to court Zack Snyder again.
Yes. Probably not for the thing that people are expecting. I wanted to point out, and I did this multiple times in my weekly Q&As and everything. Yes, Zack Snyder is being, according to Variety, the studio is looking to make a 300 prequel TV series. Maybe one season, maybe miniseries, maybe multiple seasons. Who knows what their plan is at this point? But their idea is that
that's so smart to do it as a TV series.
300 and 300, the side sequel, because it happened simultaneously and after. I still feel like if someone had the editing prowess, just combine those two movies together because you could do it. What they want to do is make a prequel. And they don't have to use the same cast because it's a prequel. I mean, you could do King Leonidas as a teenager or something, right? Set it up as the rise of Leonidas or something. And if you do it as a prequel project, you can explore the mythos of Spartans more. You can explore all of this universe more, the rise of Xerxes, all this stuff. And you can do all of this. And the Variety revealed that not only are they looking to have Zack come back and EP the whole thing, they want him to direct a few of the episodes too. So they're like, by the way, you made your spot on the map with 300. This style for these movies only exists because of you.
Yeah.
How about you direct the pilot and the finale and maybe every episode in between? Or
it's really smart. And you know what? I think he would do the whole show, but then the show is 13 hours long. And I think what they do is they let him do 60-minute first episode, 90, you know what I mean? 90-minute last episode, divvy up the rest of it. But you're right. He really coined that style. And the 300 sequel movie really hurt by the fact that it's not him.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely had that vibe for him, and you could tell that he was producing it, but he was also busy directing something else while they made that movie. So having him come back is the right decision, but immediately, no sooner than they announced that this was a thing, the internet said, so that means he's coming back to DC too?
No,
that's not what that means.
No, because we're talking about TV. We're talking about a whole different side of the company.
I mean, because people tend to forget Zack Snyder, yes, he was wronged by WB, but they came in and fired all those people. And the current guy that's running Warner Brothers Pictures, Michael DeLuca, actually has a history of working with Zack and fights for Zack. So this guy, obviously, he'd be the one going to bat saying, bring him back for 300. But I think fans need to also forget that Warner Brothers went out of their way to make DC its own studio. So just because they're bringing back Zack to WB does not mean Zack is also going back to DC, because DC is its own studio. And the last thing that Warner Brothers is going to do is say, by the way, we gave you your own studio. Now let's cut you at the knees before your first project comes out, and then put Zack back in the mix of it right when half of the internet is happy that Zack's not involved and the other half is boycotting because Zack is not involved. But it just seems like it's like almost like a suicidal move to include him in any capacity until they've got their footing. Like, they just need to let James Gunn and Peter Safran do what they're doing. And if Zack says, I by the way, I want to make the Dark Knight Returns Elseworlds project, let that exist on its own. Or maybe even they bring Zack in and say, "Hey, Zack, you want to direct a random project in the DCU?" He's like, "Hell yeah, let me make Jonah Hex or something crazy, weird, and stylized in an era that he hasn't done before." Like, that would be fun, but he doesn't mean that he's coming back and bringing Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and everyone with him. That's not at all what's happening here. 300 is not a DC property.
Right.
It's not, right?
No, I don't think so.
It was a Frank Miller property. I don't think it was actually by anybody except for Frank Miller.
Well, I mean, they got to keep I mean, it's funny because I'm looking at everything going on with Furiosa, where the movie is good. The movie was really fun. I enjoyed it as a person that enjoys that universe.
Oh, no, it actually might be. 300 was Dark Horse.
Okay. Well, is Dark Horse now owned by, were they gobbled up by somebody else?
I think they were gobbled up. Oh, no, I guess maybe some behind the scenes stuff. I think Dark Horse is they're getting bought by somebody. They're being sold out again. So they're not part of anybody. I think the Embracer Group, that one conglomerate of who knows what these guys are buying, they bought them, and I think Dark Horse is being shuffled around to someone else soon. I've heard some chatter that Dark Horse is going through another round of selling. But
okay. So I liked this movie, enjoyed it, told other people to go see it, but it was deemed a box office bomb. And in the past, when movies got that label, it meant like, oh, they were bad. People saw it and then told other people don't see it. My fear with some of this stuff is like, even if the movie's good, there's no guaranteeing people are going to go see it.
Right. And Furiosa was a fantastic film. I loved it to pieces. I thought it was great. I still preferred Fury Road just because I like Mad Max as a character, and it's hard to do a Mad Max movie without Max.
Right.
But I still loved it. I saw it. I took my dad to see it. I thought it was great. It still hasn't broke even yet. And there's already online chatter saying, yes, it had the worst Labor Day weekend box office in the last 30 years. But that goes for every movie.
Yeah, I think that has more to say about America than the movie. I think that means we've got other problems at home, the least of which. But I think movies are probably a boiling of the frog, maybe a temperature degree rising. If like people on a Memorial Day weekend, they're like, no, we're not going to the theater. What are we going to do there?
What I thought was interesting, I saw an interview, a roundtable interview, and Quentin Tarantino was talking about this the other day, where he basically said that movie theaters used to be the working man's entertainment, I think is what he phrased, that it wasn't highbrow like theater. It wasn't this or that. He basically described it as anyone can go to it. It was supposed to be accessible for the general populace, and it was meant to be cheap. And then he described that like when it kind of kicked into like above $7 a ticket, you started seeing people kind of step away from saying, I'm going to go to the theaters to maybe it's going to be something I don't do this weekend. And now matinee tickets are typically $11, $12, $13, and like the primetime tickets, anything after a matinee is like $15, $16. And that's getting to the point where if you have a family of anything more than yourself, you're spending a ton of money.
Right.
And every time I go to the theater, my wife's always like, I want to get my bag of popcorn. I want to get my drink. I want to get the stuff. And I feel like I spend more on snacks than I do the tickets. And I still spent $80 on the tickets. So it's like people become very picky and choosy with movies. And it's because it's just how goddamn expensive they are now.
Well, do you think they drop they're not going to drop the price of the movies. So what do they do?
I legitimately think that someone could go in right now and make a theater and say, by the way, we're going to cut the tickets in half and say every ticket is $7. And if they did that, they could fill every seat. And I think that would be more than what normal theaters are getting, where you say, oh, we filled 30% of our seats, but here's full price. So if someone came in and said, I'm going to bite the cost up front and then sell them at half rate, and then I just filled the whole thing, I can pay what the theaters want for their cut, and people are showing up. I think people just need to kind of go back to that mentality of like, maybe take the hit yourself until the investment comes back on you. But not enough people do that nowadays. Everyone acts like, oh, I'm going to open my theater. I'm going to charge what the theater wants me to charge, and I'm going to make money by spending $9 for a soda. Sorry. I don't know. I feel like there's a missed opportunity by someone could just like undercut the entire market.
Listen, I think, unfortunately, COVID, I think took the going to theaters out of people. I think we've now lost that urge. It's
I don't
not
know. I
like
mean, Dune was pretty damn popular and everyone saw it. So Barbie and Oppenheimer, everyone saw it.
right. But if 3 movies do well a year, what happens to the other 12? Or I mean, how many other? I mean, I look at the movies that are coming out this year, and it's like there's a couple I want to see. And I'm sure Despicable Me 4 will be the highest grossing movie of the year.
Maybe. I mean, it's going to have this weird Fantastic Four thing with the minions where they all get powers and there's going to be like a superhero angle to the minions. I think it's going to be fun for people to see, but I don't know. I think I saw somewhere that like there's like one of them gets like a laser cannon for an eye and one becomes essentially the Thing. I'm just like, okay, this could be entertaining and dumb as shit, but let's see this.
Well, as a studio, they turn out these really fun movies, and the last really fun movie was the Super Mario Brothers movie. What is on the horizon for Nintendo IPs?
Well, Nintendo still has their live action Zelda that they're making, and then you've also got
Yo, does Zelda not talk? Are we going to see a Link that doesn't say anything for a full movie?
I hope so, because that's true to the character. If Link talks, movie's ruined. I just want like everyone guiding him, and he's just like, and like that's all you get out of him, right? But I don't need to see Link be like, "I'm here, Ganon. I'm here to fight you," and people are like, why does Link sound like that? Why does Link sound like anything?
He's got to do 3 dungeons.
He's got to do 3 dungeons.
He's got to do right. He's got to at least do 2 dungeons.
It's going to be like an 80s montage where he's just running through. Kind of like the training scene. The training scene from Mario where he's just going through the obstacle course. We're going to have like an 80s Flashdance sequence with Link running through dungeons and getting pieces of the Triforce.
Do you think we get a movie exclusive Link? That this Link, like all the other Links, is a hero of time, but that this Link, this is the first time we're seeing him in this incarnation?
I hope so. If they try to base it off a game, they're doing it wrong. I think the Zelda franchise built into a very nice section where they can say, by the way, every Link is a reincarnation.
Right.
And time is constantly repeating itself because of the Triforce and these 3 entities that constantly have to exist. By doing it that way, they can reboot the franchise as many times as they want, and it's still canon. So they could do that to the movies too. Don't make it overcomplicated. Don't adapt a story. Just do that.
But that's all that's being worked on.
Well, they've also got Mario 2 that's being worked on, and they've also got a Donkey Kong movie that's being worked on. And
with Seth Rogen?
Things. Yeah.
Wow.
He was pretty popular.
It's so funny. You can do really anything with Mario. There's so much to draw from. Donkey Kong, there's been a million TV shows. Like, what are you got to do something. You got to do something different with him.
Yeah. Donkey Kong Country. Bring Diddy Kong in. Bring his sidekicks and bring that alligator boss guy and just have fun with it.
Yeah, you bring in the animals, right? All the animals have personalities and talk. You write them.
Yeah, have fun with it. Just do it. Just make it a thing.
Do you think they go to a Mario universe? Like, you can't introduce Fire Flower Donkey Kong
and not have him be like, "Oh, here's Cat Donkey Kong."
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they kind of put themselves in a weird corner with this movie by introducing him the way they did, because now he's firmly tied to that universe, and anything standalone-ish doesn't seem to fit right because the tone has already been set. But yeah, you can have fun with it. Why not?
Okay. All right. Is there anything else on your radar that we need to touch on?
Well, The Acolyte is coming out 20 minutes ago.
Taylor, I don't know how to feel about it, because what if I like it?
I know. I think you're going to be fine, because I think it's actually so. Yes, there's a lot of controversy behind the scenes. A lot of people are being pissed off for everything because Star Wars fans are the impossible to please group. I have not found a Star Wars project that's been massively disappointing to me. I've always found something that I like out of it. The reviews have come out. They've been kind of all over the place. A lot of positive reviews, a ton of positive reviews. I did, however, see this really cool interview where they basically described like the main villain, the Sith with the smile helmet. They said they took inspiration from a specific character from the Knights of the Old Republic universe. And when I was reading that, I'm like, oh shit! I know what the twist is going to be, because you can't choose that character to base your villain on and not do one of the biggest Star Wars twists as you can, because
Are you going to tell everyone what that twist is now, or do you want to save it for when the show's over?
So in Knights of the Old Republic, the character that they based this Sith villain on was what is the hell is her character name? The character was it was the girl, the old lady. What was her name? Son of a bitch. It wasn't Bastilla. It wasn't Darth Malak. He was the villain when it was Darth
Mad Mardigan.
No, it was the lady. It was the Kriya?
Sorsha.
Is it Kriya? I don't remember.
Is it the
she
little...
was the in the game, she was like this old mentor figure who was like, I'm gonna help you find everything. And then by the way, I'm the villain, and then put her cloak on, and it was like this big twist that she was the villain.
Yeah.
They based this new villain. They said they looked at that character for inspiration, and my immediate thought was Trinity from the Matrix is the secret villain of the show. And that was like first thing that came to mind was like, you got this big person who's shown in the trailers that she is going to go out and like fight these characters. What if she's the bad guy? What if like she takes the helmet off and says, good, now let's take down the Jedi? That immediately that came to mind. I'm like, I swear to God, I may have spoiled it for myself that she may be the villain.
I think you did. And I also feel like Fallout beat them to the punch, because that's kind of
the villain the whole time.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I was looking at that, and as soon as they mentioned that this character was Kriya was like the main inspiration for the villain, I was like, it's either going to be the guy from Squid Game is the villain, or it's going to be her. Like,
you figured it, Taylor. You figured it out. You figured out the final fight of the final episode,
and it's going to be gnarly. And I'm like, I'm good for it. I'm ready, because I think that not enough twists like that existed in Star Wars since they made Darth Vader Luke's dad, and just destroyed gave everyone trust issues from the 80s on.
You don't know. Rey is a Palpatine clone. She's a clone of Palpatine.
That was not nearly as good as, by the way, Luke, I didn't kill your dad. I am your dad.
Totally.
Like, that was
okay. Listen,
so
you've sold me. Let's go watch The Acolyte.
I think it's going to be fantastic, and especially because we got 2 hours of it tonight.
There's only 6 episodes.
I don't know how many episodes there are, but we get 2 of them tonight, so that's all that matters to me.
Great.
I'm going to watch these 2 episodes, and I'm going to be like, damn, High Republic's pretty cool. But the High Republic is also supposed to be the era of the Jedi where they become the most arrogant, because they truly believe the Sith are defeated and they're never coming back. And they haven't quite made their downfall that we saw in the prequel trilogy. This is the height of the arrogance of the Jedi. So I think that could be a pretty fun take. So
great. Let's go. Goodbye, everybody. We're going to go watch The Acolyte now. We'll come back and tell you all about it next week.
We could do that. I mean, but to be fair,
it's going to be on the agenda.
It's going to be on the agenda. We're going to talk about it. And I did kind of decide going forward with the podcast, since I am with child. No, since
you're with child.
Since the baby's coming soon, I think we're going to try to do as best as we can for me to still show up.
Okay.
And I think that for the times that I can't do it, we will find a suitable co-host for you. Maybe it is Kahinde from This That Talk, or maybe it is randomly Gabe from the TCN family that is going to just pretend to be me, like wear one of my t-shirts and wear my beanie and just pretend to be me. But either way,
I'll ask whoever you bring about UFOs. Send them my way, Taylor. I got stuff to talk about.
But I know a lot of people have been sending me DMs like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm still going to be on my phone. I'm not dying. I'm not going off to war. I might still be present.
He's going to have a newborn in the other hand, so it's difficult to text with. He's losing a whole thumb. You know what I mean?
To be fair, I've done this before, where we did a podcast and I was wearing a Barabee carrier, and I've done this before, so I think we can make this work as long as the baby's not screaming.
Love it. Love it.
We'll figure it out. But on that note, everybody, a big thank you for showing up today. And if you do want to support us and keep the lights on and keep us doing what we're doing, head over to the patreon.com/theculturednerd. We have a small group of supporters that are helping us keep going. So a big thank you to everyone who is currently supporting, and a big encouragement for everyone who wants to support us. Head over there, or if you're sitting in front of your computer or sit in front of your TV and you've got your phone on, you go ahead, scan that QR code, like, subscribe, and support this video because it definitely helps the algorithm to stop hiding us from other people. But on that QR code has all the other means to support us and harass us and do everything in between throughout the interwebs. So definitely head over there. Tell us what you think. Tell us what your plans are for 300's prequel show, what you think is going to happen. If you do want to see Zack come back, if you don't want to see Zack come back, tell us what you think about Alien Romulus. That trailer looks absolutely fantastic. Or better yet, tell me what you think about the Venom trailer. Are you going to be seeing this movie in theaters? Does this movie just look absolutely crazy? Sound off in the comments below. We will see you all next week. We have been the Culture Nerd Podcast. I have been your host, Taylor Murphy. My co-host, as always, Michael Santel.
Adios, amigos.
And thank you again, everyone. Have a good night.